How are you? I hope you are all well. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to today's class. We are going to learn about data analysis. But before we go to data analysis, I would want us to look at the components of research, or rather, we remind ourselves about the components of research so that we can get clear on where we are going. As we've already learned, the first one is identification of the research area and topic. That is the first component or the first process. Number two is the statement of the problem. So after you identify your research area, then you state the problem. Number three, you go to the literature review. After you've done your literature review, then you go to your methodology. And under methodology, you'll come across research designs and so on. And then after that, you work on the sampling frame and the sampling techniques. And then from there is the data collection tools, design and techniques. And even before you come to the data collection tools, or as you're designing them, you need to think so much about the research ethics so that, again, you don't go to the field and then you're collecting data illegally. So you need the right permits for you to go to the field. Then after collecting data, definitely now you need to analyze the data. And then after you analyze the data, there's the writing of the report. So at this point, we are at the data analysis point where we look at what exactly did you collect from the field. You collected data, you collected information, you collected facts and truths concerning the phenomena you are studying. Now you need to analyze it so that you can come up with a report of what exactly the answers that you are looking for. And I know that when you do research, you always must have an objective. So you are trying now to unpack that. So data refers to facts that have been collected through the data instrument or using the data instruments. You remember in the previous recording or in the previous class, we learned about data collection instruments. And so any information you have collected using those data collection instruments, then that is what we refer to as data. There are facts, there is information, there's truths that you have collected. And so after you have collected that information, then now you need to analyze. So we are saying that different data collection methods will always yield different data. What do we mean here? That when you collect your data using observation, it is different to when you collect your data using questionnaire. You get that set of information, and this is also another set of information. So we are saying it is yielding a data, but it is in different forms. Data, but it's in different forms. So when you're doing your data analysis, then you are trying to describe the phenomena. What were you exactly dealing with? Were you investigating a fraud? You are now, as you analyze, you are now trying to explain the fraud, how it happened, who was involved, and things like that. So you are trying to describe the phenomena. And then now you're also trying to see if there's any relationships between the variables. So what are the steps in quantitative data analysis? What are the steps that you need to follow? The first one is data grouping. And here we are saying that once data has been collected, the researcher needs to separate the different data sets. And by this we mean you may have collected your data using interviews and questionnaires for one research, depending with what you are researching on. And so when you come now to the process of analyzing, you need to separate. This information has been collected using a questionnaire. This information has been collected using interviews. Do not lump them together. You need to separate them. So that is what we call data grouping. The number two is where you clean up the data. The data. And we are saying that this ensures completeness of the questionnaires and the consistency of the responses. So here we are saying you need to clean up. For example, let's say you had a questionnaire and you are given it to maybe St. Paul staff members. There's something you're investigating. And then one of the questions was age. So somebody has written 501. So definitely you know that there's nobody who has such an age in St. Paul's, 501. So perhaps this person was meant to write 51 or was meant to write 50. So when you're cleaning up, you look at those obvious mistakes and you clean up as you are looking at the questionnaires. And this is very important because if you don't clean up, it will not reflect the correct information. Or maybe, depending with what you're investigating, you would have asked maybe a number of people, what is your weight in kgs? You want to know how much somebody weighs. And somebody writes 899. 899. So definitely you are sure, because you are almost sure of the participants that were in the interview or who are filling the questionnaire. Then maybe somebody was meant to write 89, but then they wrote 899. So you are trying to clean up the data, not interfering with the information, but looking at the obvious mistakes and cleansing them or cleaning them. So that is the second process. So we have started with data grouping, and then now we go to data cleaning or data editing. The number 3 is what we call data coding. Data coding. This refers to the process of assigning discrete numeric values to different answers or choices to each question in the questionnaire. So you have this questionnaire where people have filled the information. For example, you may have had a question about gender, where somebody is supposed to write whether they are a male or a female. Now, when it comes to data coding, because normally the statistical packages that we use for analyzing data, they understand a certain kind of a language. Most of the time, they will not understand quantitative data, or they will not understand narrations, for example. So it is hard for that package to understand what you mean by male or female. So what we normally do is to code. By code, you mean if, for example, you have asked about what is your gender, then there is a choice A, male, choice B, female. When it comes to coding, you can assign a number to male, to the answer male, and to the answer female. So that as you're filling the questionnaire, if you've come across somebody who filled that questionnaire and is a male, then you assign that as maybe number 1. You go to the other question, the other questionnaire, if they have filled that they are females, then you know that your female is represented by a number like 2. So instead of writing female in the statistical package, you write 2. So you are assigning a number to that answer, so that the computer can be able to interpret 1, 2, 3, 10, 19, 500 like that, instead of just writing narrations. Let me give another example. You maybe have asked people about where do you come from? Which county do you come from, for example? So there are people who come from Mombasa, Nakuru, Kiambu, Nairobi, all that. So in the choices that you have given, you may want to code and say, Mombasa will be represented by number 1. Nakuru will be represented by number 2. Kiambu will be represented by number 3. Nairobi will be represented by number 9. So when you find a questionnaire where somebody comes from Nairobi and they have ticked Nairobi, when it comes to entering the information in the computer, instead of writing county Nairobi, you write 9. Or you write 3 if it's Kiambu, or you write 1 if it's Mombasa. So it's just a way of helping the computer understand the language that you are using. So data coding is number 3. And then number 4, after you have coded the information, because we're saying here that most of the packages will not interpret the narrations. Instead, they will interpret numbers or figures. So if you're keying in 320, 10,000, 1 million, 5, 16, it is easy for it to pick that, rather than just picking words like female, like county, like Mombasa, like, So when it comes now to the 4th step, that is when you enter that data into the statistical package, which mostly is in Excel. You key in that data, you pick one questionnaire, you key in the data, you pick another questionnaire, you key in the data, you pick another one, you key in the data, like that. After you have keyed in all the information, then the last process is called the data processing. The data processing. This is where now you are using the statistical package, and just by click of a button, you can be able to run different tests and be able to see this is the cause of this. This is the cause of high labor turnover. How many female were how many females participated in the interview, and it's going to give you. In terms of gender, it's going to give you. In terms of county, it is going to give you. The reason for high labor turnover, all that is presented in figures and tables, depending with the objectives. Because remember, you are working with a certain objective. There's something you want to achieve. There's something you want to know. So after data processing, now you come to report writing. And before the report writing, you need to come up with you need to present your findings. And you present your findings in narrations and also in figures and in tables. So remember, when you are running, if I can go back again, when you are running the data processing, it is normally produced in terms of figures and tables, depending with what you want, even pie charts. And then after that, a little bit of narration. So when you go now to chapter 4, this is where now you present now your findings. Now you pull the tables from the tables, the figures, the pie charts, and then you paste them on chapter 4, which is the chapter that has data analysis, presentation, and the interpretation of findings. After that, then you write your chapter 5, which is about the summary of what you found out, the conclusion, and the recommendation. Because remember, that research is not complete until you tell us this is what is causing this, or until you answer to the research objectives, because you are going to find out why there is high labor turnover, or you're going to find out how fraud happened, or you're going to find out this and this and this. So that is not complete until you have given us a summary of what you found, a conclusions. What are you concluding out of that, what you have studied, and then lastly, what are you recommending? Because it is important for you to give a recommendation of what can be done. Maybe it's a problem you are dealing with in the organization. What can be done to curb that problem so that it does not happen again? So we are saying that once the data now has been presented in a very organized manner, and you have been able to write down, then you can now write a report. You can now write a report and say, this is exactly what I found. I went to the field on this and this day. I collected data through these methods. I analyzed data through this method, and this is what now I am presenting. So that is all about data analysis. It's a simple process if you have the right statistical package, if you have the right data, if it is coded properly, if it is well collected, then you will be able to come up with very, very, very good data. And after analyzing it, then you're able to write your summary very well, you're able to write your conclusion very well, and you're able to write your recommendation, which is what every manager or every client who is giving you a job, that is what they are looking for. They are looking to see, what did you find when you go to the field? How can we be able to sort out this problem? It could be in a society where you're dealing with water shortage. So you go through this whole process, and after that you write a recommendation. What can be done about this problem? If it's water shortage, are you recommending that we dig more boreholes? Are you recommending that we have piped water? Are you recommending that we have a dam? What exactly are you recommending? And everybody who gives you work to do as a research consultant will be waiting to see your findings, to see your conclusions, and to see your recommendations, so that they are able to act on them. And that is how we are able to solve societal problems, because of the research that is going on every day. I pray that each one of us understands the research process, so that wherever you'll go and whatever kind of an assignment you'll be given in future, you will be competent enough to carry out a research and carry it the way it's supposed to be done. Thank you so much for listening in.